Howdy Beast Nation, it's General Driggers coming to talk to you about outward mindset. As I talked about before, wanted to have a series of short videos just to talk about some topics related to outward mindset and some of this training that has been going on. And I prefer not to think about it as training, but more as an experience, because this is something that we want to continue long after you step away from whatever training or discussion group that you have. It really is supposed to be something positive. You know, I think about all the training that we receive here in the military. We receive a lot of training about how to handle bad things, suicide prevention training. We learn about equal opportunity and how not to treat each other poorly, sexual assault prevention and response. I wanted to be able to roll out a series of training events, a series of experiences that focused on how can we be the best of who we are. That's what we really need to be focusing on. And that is how, if we can be the best at who we are, we can be the best at serving this amazing installation known as JBSA. And so today I want to take just a short moment and compare and contrast this idea of, if when we're inward or outward, really, do we have a focus on the mission, or do we find ourselves inadvertently focusing on avoiding blame or focusing on internal pride? Oftentimes, when you have this inward mindset, the focus is on avoiding blame. Sometimes maybe taking an overly prideful view of your own virtue and maybe horribilizing the other folks that might be facing you. And that can create some dangerous behaviors. Maybe being closed to constructive feedback. Maybe sometimes returning constructive feedback with counter accusations. Going out into other areas of your workspace and building allies for your side to get after somebody else that you might be in collusion with. A refusal to put negative information in front of the boss, when maybe what really needs to happen to solve a problem is an understanding of that negative information. Work avoidance sometimes, and in its worst case, lying about results. Now, I'm not saying that that's what we all do, but we can see ourselves edge towards those behaviors sometimes when we find ourselves inward. And all of these behaviors can become a challenge to an organization, and we find ourselves dealing in blame and sometimes an unhealthy pride that can blind us to the truth. And sometimes when we're open to the truth, we have our most agency. That's when we can recognize the challenge for what it is and actually step into the mix and solve the problem. You can actually be the problem solver, but you got to recognize the problem. And that's the challenge. When we're outwardly minded, that helps us be able to recognize the problems. And then you can be the person stepping into the breach and solving those problems. Acknowledge confidently what you're doing right, and then clearly identify areas where we can make improvements, and then be the person that makes those improvements. And that makes our organization better. In short, when you have a laser focus on the mission, then we're not focused on pride or blame or anything like that. We're simply focused on what it takes to get better. Clearly identifying areas where we need to move out and then getting after them and being the person that is making that positive change. There's only room in that kind of view for personal ownership, for purpose, and for collective improvement. The way I say it is, we either win or we learn. Thanks JBSA, and thanks Beast Nation for everything that you do. Until next time, we'll talk about outward mindset.